Welcome everyone from the Tamkin community and everyone seeing us from everywhere around the world. We welcome you this moment to a wonderful and another topic, a Uni Collaboration Managing Director and Project Manager, Mrs. Sara Pittarello, is going to dive into a new topic that is awesome, the value of exchange in today's global work environment. So I would love each and every one of you to pay attention. Like I say usually, take note, that is learn actively, and ask questions. We're going to have a 15 minutes question section after which. So at this point in time, I'll hand over to Miss Sara Pittarello to guide us in the session. Bonne écoute.
Thank you very much. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you the value of virtual exchange, which is an innovative pedagogy. I will now try to share my screen, and please confirm that you can all see it. I will share my second screen. So you should now all be able to see my screen. Oh no, sorry, because I went the wrong way. Otherwise you can't see it all. I can see that you can all see, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I would like to introduce you to this topic. But first of all, let me give you the setting of Uni Collaboration. Uni Collaboration is a not-for-profit organization based in Belgium, which is working worldwide, actually, because all of our collaborators are based worldwide. They all come from the academia. So apart from myself and a colleague of mine who are who have been working in the field of higher education but are freelancers, and we work for Uni Collaboration, all the others are full-time staff at university level. And the goal of the organization is to disseminate the value of virtual exchange as much as possible for it to spread around the world. This is why I am here today, because we would really like to start seeing virtual exchange outside academia too, and especially in connection with the workforce and the work environment. So let me dive deeper into this topic, and let me then start my presentation today with you. Outline of my intervention by contribution today is the following. First of all, I'll try to set the scene, consider the changing global context. Second, I will define what virtual exchange is and what it is not. Third, I will try to explain to you why virtual exchange matters for today's global force. Then I will describe the value it has for academia and for companies, to then move on to real-world examples. I will then shift to how academia and companies can work together and collaborate in virtual exchange, and then leave you with a couple of key takeaways before the question times. So, setting the scene, I spoke about a changing global context, and I'm sure you can all agree with that. We are deeply interconnected, and globalization now is shifting towards multipolarity with growing cooperation beyond traditional centers. Hybrid and remote collaboration are becoming standard in the workplace, and this is what is required from our graduates when they start working. Organizations need people who are able to collaborate, and consider that I have purposely used the word collaborate and not cooperate, because collaborate is a step forward and requires deep teamwork. To collaborate across different cultures, disciplines, and time zones. So, why does virtual exchange come into place, and what it is and what it is not? I'll try to give a short definition, which is currently known worldwide, even though the terminology may change according to the country or the continent. So virtual exchange is mainly used in Europe, but you will find, if you move to the US or Latin America, you may hear of COIL, Collaborative Online Interactive Learning, or you may hear about Global Classroom, telecollaboration. In the Southern Mediterranean field, it is virtual exchange mainly. So even if the terminology may change depending on the area and the funding scheme as well, it all describes the same. It is a pedagogical approach which has been developed over the last 3 decades. From experience in language education, it was called telecollaboration in the very beginning, moving on to educational exchange and study abroad. It is enabled by technology and it is made to support people-to-people interaction according to a peer-led approach. And these interactions are aimed to sustain over a period of time. So it is not just one interaction, it is a series of interactions enabled by technology. So the media platforms are used to ensure that the interactions are deep and lively. Interactions also need to be facilitated by qualified facilitators who need to have been trained specifically to have these skills to encourage this kind of exchange among peers. It promotes reciprocity and allows for equity and inclusiveness. It has a scalable approach. And I would like to pause a second because it is frequently considered as an alternative or an opposite to physical exchange. While it is not, it actually prepares, deepens, and extends physical exchanges. I'm speaking about mobility, physical exchange in terms of mobility, as you know, university level, workforce, workplace, there are opportunities for mobilities. It can actually fuel new demand for physical mobility. What virtual exchange is not is summarized in this table. While in virtual exchange, the emphasis is on the people-to-people interaction. The emphasis in other forms of online learning is on the online access to the content of another university, for example. And here I'm focusing on what virtual exchange is compared to other forms of online learning being delivered at the university level. In virtual exchange, the educators, or even better, the facilitators, guide the interaction between learners who are placed in different places. Whereas in other forms of online learning, the educators provide the educational content to the learners. While in virtual exchange, the intercultural learning is just one of the main educational outcomes in addition to the course content. This is not the case in other forms of online learning, where mastery of course content plays the key role. Virtual exchange usually includes synchronous communication with peers in small groups, whereas in other forms of online learning, the communication is predominantly asynchronous. So I have a photographic mind, so I wanted to summarize here what virtual exchange with these two pictures, what virtual exchange is to me. You see, it is like the arm supporting this tray, meaning that it actually supports the delivery of the content. And you can see it also on the perspective, from the perspective of the picture on the right side, where you can see that all are on an equal footing. This is precisely the aim behind virtual exchange, to favor peer-to-peer interaction so that people can exit from their comfort zone and feel free to speak and interact together. You may ask me whether virtual exchange is the same as virtual mobility, which is not the case. While virtual mobility implies the use of information and communication technologies to obtain the same benefits one would have without moving. And so the focus is on the cooperation of institutions as well on the recognitions of achievements. In virtual exchange, the focus is the interaction and communication. So the exchange, competence building, and interaction in small groups. I have left the definitions to you here. So I told you that virtual exchange is not virtual mobility, and this is well summarized in these pictures. While you see that on the left side, you have the peers interacting together. So the person participating in the virtual exchange can actually see his or her own peers. In virtual mobility, this peer-to-peer interaction is not requested, and actually they can stay on their own in front of a screen. Why does virtual exchange matter for today's workforce? This is crucial. First of all, we should ask ourselves, why virtual exchange in all settings, regardless of the context? And here I have reported some quotes, the quotes of students participating in a virtual exchange carried out in academia. I want to focus on the part highlighted in yellow. It really opened my eyes because there are people from a lot of countries who made me realize that my point of view is not the only one. And this is crucial and essential. Another report and comment from another student. Thanks to these, I succeeded in getting in touch with people around the world who I shared my ideas and my thoughts with, despite not being able to afford a physical mobility. Why does virtual exchange matter for today's workforce? So I have reported here two keywords, teamwork and lifelong learning. Virtual exchange enables participants to develop transversal skills, such as intercultural communication, digital collaboration, problem solving in different settings and diverse teams, adaptability and global mindset. At the same time, virtual exchange enables to reach out to and to build work-ready graduates experienced in remote collaboration. And last but not least, it helps bridge the gap between the world of higher education and the world of employment. This is why I speak about lifelong learning. I was telling you before, while setting the scene, that we live in a global world which is changing its setting now. We are becoming increasingly interdependent, and we urgently need to develop a deeper understanding of this interdependency and to address major challenges which we are all facing through multilateral and intercultural collaboration. And there is no need for me to make concrete examples of what it means today. At the same time, having people who can work online with peers from other countries may open up new perspectives on these challenges, enhance intercultural understanding, and suggest innovative ways to tackle global problems. So, what is the value of virtual exchange for academia? I have summarized the points I will be illustrating in the following slides in this one. So first of all, it is deeply connected to internationalization at home, by which I mean reaching out to students with an international experience at the institution, at an institutional level. This is very cost-effective and scalable. Second, it can embed global perspectives across curricula, and then it helps to make curricula international and have an international dimension. Third, it helps building sustainable international partnerships. And fourth, it enhances employability and graduate profiles. What do I mean by that? I mean that by engaging students in innovative collaboration with students from other countries and different cultural backgrounds, virtual exchange can serve as actually a powerful tool from other countries in different cultural backgrounds. VE can serve as a powerful tool for educational innovation. It is a form of blended learning based on social interactions and collaboration. It supports the development of intercultural and language competences, collaboration, and 21st century skills, digital competencies. At the same time, it adds an international dimension to learning in the disciplines by providing cross-national, cross-disciplinary perspectives and offering an innovative learning space for addressing these global issues I was mentioning before, and social problems for enhancing cultural understanding and tolerance. Let's move onwards. I was speaking about the opportunity to add an international dimension to the curriculum. At the same time, it also helps to decolonize the curriculum. Why? Because it offers the potential to go beyond telling and hearing stories from a single perspective. Why? It can challenge the unidirectional flow of information coming from the global north and promote more global-centric approaches where both northern and southern knowledges. I don't like speaking about global north and global south, but it is effective in explaining what I mean. So both these knowledges from the global north and the global south and experiencing in their varied facets and nuances can be made relevant and brought into the conversation. So it can challenge normalized assumptions and power relations. It can indeed help to decolonize the curriculum. It can present deeper historical and systemic analysis, confront the legacy of colonialism, as I was telling before, redefine and repurpose the concept of global citizenship, and advocate for more inclusive forms of representation and the redistribution of resources. It can help to learn from different ways of knowing in order to imagine the world differently. Now I want to focus on another important aspect, which regards the limits of physical mobility. And here I quote an example from my side of the world, that is Europe. As you may see from this pie chart, the Erasmus mobility target, and by that I mean physical mobility, were to target 20% of the student population by 2020. Sorry, but my son has just arrived, so you might have seen a shadow behind me, and I do apologize for that. But I work in an open environment, and my kids are allowed to come in and out. Sorry about that. So coming back to the limits of Erasmus mobility, the limit is the fact that even if this 20% was reached, and consider that the percentage was far, far lower than 20% by 2020, this experience is still not affordable for the other 80% of students. And by not affordable, I do not only mean money-wise, financially, but I also mean that there are students who are not able to travel because of family and organizational issues, because they work, because of disabilities, because of other issues, not just linked to the financial opportunity to travel abroad. Virtual exchange thus offers another way of providing students with an international and intercultural experience. This has been recognized by the EU, who have initiated in 2018 the Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange Program. It was standard for 3 years. We, as Uni Collaboration, were a partner in this consortium, which led to recommendations to the European Commission, and starting from 2020, in the new program guide, the new program Erasmus Plus program from 2021 to 2027, virtual exchange was added as an action to apply within the Erasmus Plus program. Now, considering another global challenge we are all aware of, which is the climate challenge, the climate change. We all know that it is not sustainable for the environment to go on and keep on with the carbon footprint of physical mobility, because we are part of a living planet with finite resources. And has anybody ever considered the environmental impact of academic mobility? The Times Higher Education study estimated quite a while ago, 5 years ago, that the carbon footprint of student mobility is equivalent to annual emissions of entire countries. And they have reported the study. So I have also told you that another value for academia is that of employability and graduate attributes. If we consider the definition of the process of defining graduate attributes, we see that graduates need to have developed transversal skills, communication skills, ability to work in groups, teamwork, problem-solving skills, ability to work in culturally diverse settings, digital competences, critical thinking, as well as global competence. I want to focus on the definition of global competence. If we look at the OECD report, global competence is defined, and I quote, as the capacity to examine local, global, and intercultural issues, to understand and appreciate the perspectives and worldviews of others, to engage in open, appropriate, and effective interactions with people from different cultures, and to act for collective well-being and sustainable development. And it is also one of the goals of the Agenda 2030 UN Sustainable Development Goals. The goals are to ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development. Among the others, including education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, a promotion of a culture of peace and non-violence, which is very essential today, global citizenship and appreciation of cultural diversity and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. I have highlighted the phrase global citizenship, and I will come back to that later. Now, let's pause and reflect a second. If we consider the map of the Sustainable Development Goals by the UN, are we sure we will be able to achieve these goals without transnational and transdisciplinary collaboration? This is why virtual exchange come into place. So what is the value for companies being involved in a virtual exchange project? First of all, they will have access to globally skilled talent at an early stage. Second, they can engage in virtual exchange activities as mentors or as project partners. Third, they will have the opportunity to co-design the virtual exchange activities with academia, activities which are aligned with workforce needs. Fourth, they can engage in innovation projects, hackathons, or mentorship through virtual exchange, while also strengthening innovation and employer branding among students. Another important aspect is that by participating in a virtual exchange, they can contribute to bridge the gap between education and work. Let me quote two successful examples of virtual exchanges being implemented and seeing academia collaborating with companies and NGOs. The first one is the Global Case Study Challenge, partnering over 30 universities worldwide, plus industry partners from various countries. What they did, students formed international and interdisciplinary virtual teams to tackle problems which were posed and presented by businesses. These lasted over 8 weeks, and the teams were able to collaborate online to produce reports and pitches, and they received direct feedback from company mentors. I have reported the website where you can go deeper into this example. Why it matters? Why does this kind of example matters? And here I want to focus on something which is really, really important. So first, companies gained fresh perspectives from a global talent pool. Second, students practiced virtual teamwork, business communication, and innovation in a realistic content. And the evaluation showed significant gains in intercultural competence, digital communication, and employability skills, which are among the attributes I mentioned before for graduates. Here is the link to this specific case study. And the takeaway is that this kind of virtual exchange is a talent incubator, linking academic learning to professional practice in a global environment. Second example, engineering virtual exchange between US and Palestine. And here it was civil engineering faculties and industry consultants from the US and Palestine partnering together. What happened was that engineering students collaborated virtually to design infrastructure solutions adapted to specific local contexts. And the company engineers acted as external reviewers and mentors for the students, ensuring real-world applicability of the solutions found. Why it matters? It matters because students could learn to apply technical skills in diverse contexts while mastering remote teamwork. Companies could benefit from innovative designs and early access to globally minded graduates. Here you will have the link to the study, but the important takeaway is that this virtual exchange allowed students to work together across borders, geographical borders, and across disciplines in settings that mirror multinational engineering projects. I would like you to consider the fact that these are not isolated pilot projects. These are scalable models. Imagine what happens when Tamken International connects universities, companies, students, public organizations together across the Southern Mediterranean and beyond. Virtual exchange can be the platform where education and industry collaborate together to develop the next generation of globally competent professionals. Moving on towards the end of my presentation, because I would really like to leave place for questions now. How can companies and academia collaborate in virtual exchange? I have summarized everything in this table. So for companies, they may act as mentors or challenge owners. They are the ones posing the problems. And they can act as mentors for the students. Academia can integrate virtual exchange in their curricula to add an intercultural and international dimension, and allowing students to face real problems which are offered by companies. So it will be the companies offering real-world case studies, while academia will be able to build interdisciplinary international teams. Companies can support virtual exchange projects with guest talks or recruitment links, while academia can co-design activities with employers. Key takeaways I would like you to consider. First of all, virtual exchange builds globally competent graduates, as I was telling to you before. Second, it is a bridge between education and the world of work. It is not just academic exercise. It is actually a bridge between classrooms and boardrooms, between local talent and global opportunities. By bringing together universities and companies, virtual exchange equips today's learners with tomorrow's workplace skills, like intercultural agility, again, digital collaboration, global problem solving, teamwork, global teamwork. So it offers mutual value. It is a scalable international tool for academia, and it enables companies to have access to early talent engagement. The key word, and you have been hearing me mentioning collaboration a lot. Collaboration is the key to unlock its full potential, in addition to cooperation. And I want you to focus on that. And in fact, the name of the organization I represent today is Unique Collaboration, precisely for this reason. remembering that alone we can do so little, while together we can do so much. And this is a definition by Helen Keller. This is the image. As I told you, I have a photographic mind. I would like you to leave you with this image. Sometimes we happen to find at a stallmate, or we happen to work in sectors and in our specific sector, but not crossing the path of another company working close to us, not crossing the path of other organizations and academia beside us, around us. So virtual exchange, consider virtual exchange like the opportunity to draw this bending curve, which enables the path of different organizations and associations to cross and to create a better future together for the next generation. I do thank you for your attention, and I am open now for feedback and for any questions, any issues which is still unclarified, any concerns. And in order to raise conversation and open space for conversation and for discussion, I have posed 2 questions in here. Where do you see virtual exchange fitting into your specific work and sector? And second question, what kinds of collaborations could we imagine together? I think I can stop in here.
All right, thank you very much. We're now going to move on to a second section of our program, which is question and Q&A, question and answers. Ms. Sarah, there are a bit of questions in the, about 3, I think, in the comment section. I'm sure you can read them out, or if you want, wish I can read them out for you.
I can read. I see 3 questions. I can try to, I will do my best to reply to them. How can virtual exchange improve cross-cultural communication? Simply consider, I will quote an example of a virtual exchange. This is in the field of academia. I have been tutoring myself. This is a pre-mobility virtual exchange being carried out for students willing to, who have applied for a physical mobility to a university, and they are put in touch with the local students of that university. And the local student of the university have not necessarily applied for a physical mobility, but they just want to practice language skills. So they are combined together with students of the same language they want to practice. But beyond the individual exchange among the students, which is monitored, but there is no place in here to tell you how, another important aspect that is that they are required, as I was telling you before, they are required to participate in synchronous sessions like this one, where you can see all your peers around you. In that, the facilitators prompt discussion by posing specific questions. They can be neutral questions about neutral topics or hot topics, and they have ability to prompt discussion. By doing so, the students and the participants are forced to get out of their comfort zone and learn the experiences of the other students who come from totally different perspectives. Imagine what it means when you see, for example, students from Hungary and from Romania and Austria. These were PhD students discussing the unification, national unification after the end of the Second World War. Imagine what it means for students of journalism and history and other sectors and disciplines to consider the same issue from their specific perspectives. This indeed encourages cross-cultural communication. Can these be used for mentorship? Yes, they can be used. I'm not sure you mean mentorship the way I mean. These virtual exchange programs, and the way I see it, we provide mentorship, but we provide mentorship and tutoring for the staff willing to implement a virtual exchange. We can also see in this specific context that where we are speaking about virtual exchange across academia and companies, we can see the companies acting as mentors for the students through a virtual exchange, that is helping the students to see whether the solutions they have found with their studies can be actually applied and implemented. Can these sort of programs be part of the European Solidarity Corps in such a way that it links the higher education institution with volunteers willing to work with the institution's team without necessarily being a student? Okay. I will refer, so the European Solidarity Corps, for those of you who are not familiar with that, this is a tool, a platform for applying for EU projects. I happen to also be, but this is another hat, I am an evaluator. I am the tutor of expert evaluators for the Italian National Agency, and I have been myself managing projects and these types of projects too. So, as you know, within the Erasmus, without mentioning the platform specifically, I'm referring to the scheme, Erasmus Plus scheme. Within Erasmus Plus, there is a specific action, which I was mentioning before as well, which is virtual exchange, in which not only higher education institutions, but also youth organizations may apply. So without digging deeper into the requirements of the call, because they change year by year and the new call for applications will be issued soon around November. But remember that participants can be involved without necessarily being a student if they are somehow linked to a youth organization or an organization working in the youth sector. So far, virtual exchanges are open to this type of organizations. You could also have participants who participate in a virtual exchange as long as they are somehow affiliated to the university. Think about Center for Continuous and Professional Development within universities, who can recruit students and ask them to be part of a program. These will be enrolled in a virtual exchange, provided that the virtual exchange is funded, the virtual exchange project is funded. They can be enrolled as participants as long as they are affiliated or somehow linked to an organization or a university. But this is again linked to the specific requirements of Erasmus+. How do we ensure participant engagement within virtual exchange programs? This is a very interesting question. As I told you in the very first slide, I mentioned that these interactions, for them to be meaningful and ensure deep interactive social learning, there needs to be facilitators. And these facilitators need to have been professionally trained, because their role is to remain neutral and favor conversation. So there are various different ways to encourage engagement, participant engagement, and this all depends on the level of training the staff has received. This is why I highly recommend that anybody willing to approach virtual exchange is trained to do that. And we as Uni Collaboration provide this type of a professional training, because we train staff regardless of the sector they come from. It can be youth organization, it can be other types of organizations or academia. We explain to the staff how important it is to plan activities that encourage and favor this engagement of students. It can be through icebreakers activities, through getting them engaged in and feel they are actively involved in the learning process. I think I have replied to all the questions in the chat. I don't know whether there is any further question.
As far as I can see, there are no other questions that we have. For those that have questions and would like to use the mic, you're free to do so. And if so, I would also ask Ms. Sarah to show her email so that others can contact you if possible.
I will write it in the chat without opening again the slide, okay? So that you can all feel free to chat, to connect with.
All right, thank you. For everyone else that would like to contact her, you would contact her via email or through us, and we'll connect you to her. With this wonderful session that we've had, hopefully you've learned something about Uni Collaboration, and you've taken notes, and you've also learned a lot about the value of virtual exchange in today's global work environment. We thank Ms. Sara Pittarello for such a wonderful lesson that she's given us. I would like finally thank also everyone that has contributed and participated in today's session. Thank you very much, and we'll meet you next time.
Thank you very much for the opportunity you have provided us. And feel free to reach out.
It was a pleasure meeting you, and it was very interesting. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.